I mean, it works in certain places. There's nothing to say it's just we don't necessarily have analysis that says it's good or bad. You doesn't necessarily prove some of the problems. It's just Kohala.
My next question was, did they have power generation on the island before the initial geothermal? Because if they did, then I'm curious to know how they were doing it. If they had already a baseload power plant, 100 megawatts of power, steam was already on the island. And then in the 70s, said, okay, let's go geothermal. How did they do the transition? How did they incentivize shelving all of that equipment? But if they didn't have it, then it's easier. If it's relevant. They had no cable in. Oh, I see. It's a little bit. Like generators. Just cook it on the campfire.
Which is almost, in some ways, an argument against utility because, the question of that,
are you listening? I told Alan McGarry to ask him.
I'm not making a statement about it. We really should want to go down the road.
If we think the lifestyle,
I don't want to take that being changed.
our base will be nothing like this. Well, you think of it, like in a lot of the Western education, the concept of having your own business is very unique to an ancient culture. It's kind of like, basically, you all need to together, right? To go to the community dining area.
But yeah,
you don't have your own bigger house, you live in sleep. I don't know what's going to be. But then, for initial meals, you go to the that's why the Chinese, like, they never, they always went to it's more efficient than you burn one fire, you cook for the whole crowd. Our culture have to learn from the Chinese. Well, I don't know what happened, right? We don't really want to know our neighbors. How easy it would be,
showing what
how easy would it be like if you put just the whole block here. That's what I've done. The whole block tonight, my house. Tomorrow night, your house. Yeah, that's why the Okuro was like that. Oh, that's why we gotta shake hands because it's one of the reasons why we have to meet in person. For handshaking.
Well, but our computers do handshakes and our fax machines do handshakes.
Yeah, that's right. The same, though. No.
It turns out that Slumberjail's company work very. Has done a lot of work.
Well, Slumberjail owns geothermics. Is that what you're referring to?
Because
geothermics did the last two geothermal studies for the state.
Yeah, exactly. No, because what happened is that through all my connections, I started asking for information connections. So somebody sent me an abstract. Now I've been in touch with this woman and Tate.
Yeah, she's from geothermal.
And so I've had regular correspondence with her.
And Tate Robertson.
Exactly. Hyphenated. It's a hyphenated. So it's quite interesting how small the circle is.
You can go over R&D and get the whole geothermal report for me.
Well, I didn't know that, but so what happened is I'm 35 years in languages, so I know a few people, and I was asking somebody something, and they sent me an abstract because they have access to things that I don't as a retiree within the server. And I said, oh, that's nice, why don't you send me the report? So he sent an email to this and Robertson Tate, who then I started to correspond with, who sent me some stuff, and then then in reading this stuff, they mentioned geothermal and DBET, all these people. So.
You know, the electricity part is somewhat interesting. The fuel, liquid fuel part of the story. Because I've been doing a lot of digging myself on fuel. One of the costs that come out of Tesla and Chevron. And you know, there's a federal law that says there's one specific geographic region. If there are less than 3 refineries that are processing that the information, the volume, the pricing does not need to be made publicly. And so all of the reports are redacted. Everything including the volume pricing of every single they have an EIS, right? They said, yeah, that's a federal law. There's less than 3 refineries. None of that information.
But you know, there's oftentimes you don't have to, but people do things for transparency. Right, but you know, a lot of stuff is going to start to come out, you know, about things that are covered and can remain covered, because you know people are getting sick and tired of what goes on behind closed doors because they're paid for it. One very thing is with HELCO. There's going to be, believe me, before this is all done, people are going to lose offices in the government, and there'll be some shakeout, and there'll be some some answers coming out. You know, when Constance Lau makes $6.7 million in 2011 as a bonus from running a monopoly. What a deal, run a monopoly. How difficult can that be? $6.7 million in salary and benefits that came out of our pockets as ratepayers. Right? You can say, well, this is industry standard, but you know, when you hear Jay Ignacio say, well, this is industry standard, this particular island meets no industry standards as far as, say, power generation, because of all the different things that are available. You know, if you take an average state, it doesn't have the climatic changes, it doesn't have the geographical kind of changes, the weather changes. So how can you stand up in a meeting in the council and say, well, you know, this is industry standard? We don't meet industry.
I'm glad you're setting the camera.
Yeah.
Very easy to make, so I can do some processing.
We're just lining up the targets. Just lining up the targets.
The sources of the oil.
And how do you get the state employees who get a very nice return on their pension funds?
Well, how do you think that HEI manages to give 6 and 7% a year because they make no investment?
Right.
If they had to invest money the way they run Hawaiian Electric Industries, they'd be junk bond status. Everybody would bail out. All the little old ladies who, when they kicked off, their husband provided them with utility stock, that'd be junk bond non-stop because everybody would abandon Hawaii. It's, you know, in today's economy particularly, 6 or 7% is a reasonable return if you don't want to be aggressive, right? So
Don't forget,
you know, they can go ahead, but
they can make up to 9.23% constitutional law.
well,
And as an investor, why wouldn't you want them to make that money?
when you have a monopoly, it's one thing if there was free competition on the island, right, and there was no monopoly. But there's a monopoly, and when you run a monopoly, it's a different deal on what your profit margin is. And maybe some of this should be taken back by the state and the county.
Well, it's constitutional law made in 1979.
Well, things need to. Yeah, well, maybe the people will change things.
Well, that's what you got to ask. You know, every you get called for a constitutional event.
I would be bored. My coffee maker
Let's
broke
reconvene our meeting.
yesterday. I'm on my
Please
second
finish
day
up
of
your
no homemade
conversation.
coffee.
Let's go back to the
Yeah, good.
No, I'm usually not.
That's why we're standing here.
This is like the hot chocolate coffee thing. Like, it's like 1,500. Seriously, I would be hungry all day.
Yeah. Stock up for hibernation.
No, I didn't know there was going to be photos. I'm going to come to more of these. I don't even do it every day, you know. That's a good plan.
Am I streaming to the world right now?
You are. You want to say hi?
Hello, world.
Hello, world. Hello, world. We're on a break. Wait to come back. Well, we got an audience too. We got Maui, Puna, and Kona, and
Maui, you said.
yeah, and Galway, Ireland.
Ireland.
I think. Yeah.
Can you go to Augusta, Georgia?
If they have a stream there, we can. Yeah, you know their Twitter account, and I'll tweet them. No?
Ooh, yeah.
Anybody here have a Twitter they want me to tweet?
Augusta, Georgia. Where the CEO of IBM is a female.
Are we gathering?
They're going to have to let her in as a member.
We're going to go
let the
to
first
the next
female in.
agenda item on our agenda, and that is looking at reviewing and approving the Commission's 2012 budget recommendations to the Mayor regarding energy initiatives, as well as the cover letter. Now, we had, with Dot's assistance, circulated to everybody in advance of this meeting a draft of both the cover letter as well as the compilation and the introductory comments of the high priority energy sustainability initiatives coming from each of the individual committees. And so basically all I did was try to make it understandable what and how these initiatives were pulled together and what they represent in terms of the immediate, short-term, or high priority recommendations in the introductory comments to this compilation, and then by committee just listed the individual recommendations in terms of what was provided to me and packaged it all together. I hope you've all had a chance to look this over and to consider if you have any revisions or edits to this, because we are intent to finalize this at today's meeting, if at all possible, such that it can get to the Mayor in time for him to consider some of these with respect to the budget. If we wait till the next meeting, it'll be too late, pretty much. So our goal today is to approve the cover letter and this package of recommendations to the Mayor. I'm assuming that given the lead time everyone had in terms of looking at this in advance and making suggestions about revisions, that we can move right on into that part of the process. But before I do, does anybody have any general comments they want to make about the package of recommendations that we're getting ready to look at and approve?
Just clarification, Randy, you said that the mayor submitted his budget already to the council in March, correct?
A preliminary budget.
A preliminary budget, which the council will come back and then there's...
Yeah, it goes back and forth.
So the timing of this is not wrong. I mean,
it could have been sooner, but it's still not too late.
Okay.
Yeah.
The dates that I have are the second budget submittal to the council is in May, and it gets approved in June. So this is an opportune time, and when I met with the mayor prior to the last meeting, he said to get him the recommendations as soon as we could. And so that's why we postponed the meeting, such that we would have everything compiled together and would be able to actually review and approve and move this forward. So that's where we are. Let's move right on into any specific edits or revisions or suggestions regarding changes to wording or whatever else we're looking at changing so that we can actually compile this final version and have it sent to the mayor.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I think that this would be the right time to mention the presentation.
Well,
This will come up on that committee.
okay. We can do this. It's very quick. Just a quick interlude in terms of this agenda item. Richard has resigned from the commission, and this came about fairly suddenly and abruptly. We did not get recommendations from him regarding the transportation or the technologies committee that he chaired, and hence they're not included in this report, but that was very limited in terms of a subject matter area anyway. And I'd just like to suggest that if any of the commissioners have recommendations for replacement commissioners to serve in Richard's position, to forward that to me, and I will pass that along to Randy and the mayor. And there will be a formal vetting process that they go through to do background checks and actually look at the qualifications of the different candidates, and ultimately the selection is up to the mayor. So I would suggest, if you have thoughts about replacements, pass those along as soon as possible so that we can get them in for consideration.
You should still have a couple names there from last time. Is that right, Randy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't have them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Is there any segment of business that would be beneficial to this group to have a representative from?
Good point.
Are we missing any gaps in voice?
Yeah, I was thinking we should have somebody from the university. We should have an academic who...
Are we going to discuss that in number 7, committee reports and assignments? Maybe that's a more...
Yeah, let's move that discussion out, because I really want to get to the recommendations and make sure we can complete that right now. But in the meantime, if you have thoughts about that, forward them along.
I have to comment on this. We're not saying that we have these in any particular order. I think that should be clearly stated in this introductory section, along with perhaps a table of what's going to be discussed in this report, kind of as a summary of what we're talking about, the fact that we have not ordered these in any particular order other than the committees.
Well, it states that.
In the
In the letter, just before the package, it says the priority initiative recommendations
Felt the
are not
report should have that
presented.
as well, but
No, it's in the report. You're saying it should be in the cover letter?
I'm sorry, can you,
Right under where it says current
It is in the
committees of
cover
the EAC.
Well, no, this is the cover letter to the mayor. And then this is the package of recommendations with an introductory section explaining how they were derived.
I'm sorry, I had it below my screen. That part. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Sorry, no,
Thank you. Okay.
Did you want to start with the letter first and then move on to the recommendations?
Let's do that, just to be clear. Are there any comments on the draft cover letter that will accompany these recommendations?
Yeah, I do have a recommendation. Since the mayor specifically requested that you submit the budget, why don't you mention that? Upon your request, comma, I am pleased to, on that first sentence.
Do you have specific language you want to recommend?
Upon your request, comma.
Where would that get inserted?
Right before.
The first sentence.
Yeah. So right after the word commission.
On behalf of your Energy Advisory Commission and upon your request? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you have a copy. You're going to note all of these down, so we'll end up with our final version. Okay, thank you. Any other suggestions on the cover letter?
That doesn't really read well, though. If you're saying, I think it should be either or somehow, you know, rewording that sentence to put part of on behalf of your energy advisor upon your request. That maybe should be first.
Could
well,
be
I think it's okay. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone else have an issue with that, the way it's worded?
No, I think it's the way you talk, so it's natural. You know, it's not.
Well, it's just my cover letter. This is the commission's cover letter. So I want all of your input on this.
I'm just thinking, the only reason I'm thinking is if you want his, you know, you're basically trying to say you want this to front and center by saying that's upon your request, and it's something.
Yeah, that's a good point that makes. If you start off with upon your request, he's going to say, well, I better read this because what did I request
not
again?
that he wouldn't read it. I'm just saying that might have you know, just come across a little bit more.
Okay, well, we can do it this way. We can say, upon your request, I am pleased to forward the attached recommendations on behalf of your Energy Advisory Commission.
Okay.
Very good.
How's
Very
that?
good. Perfect.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Your or the energy.
Well, it is.
It
is a narrative.
Your sounds like.
It is.
Okay,
Samantha.
sounds good.
Okay, does that work? Any other edits or adjustments? Everyone complete with that?
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. We have that one, and as it stands in terms of a final reading, just for clarification, it says now, upon your request, I am pleased to forward the attached recommendations on behalf of your Energy Advisory Commission related to the achievement, etc. Is that okay? Very good. Okay, let's move into the body of the recommendations. The first page is essentially teeing up what these mean in terms of where they came from, how they were derived, the fact that they're not in any priority,